The fourth episode of our special series, Voices on Hong Kong. We explore the ongoing unrest in the city, today's new security law and its potential international ramifications. My exclusive interview with Maria Tang Wai-Chu, Deputy Director of the Basic Law Committee of China's National People's Congress Standing Committee. And the COVID-19 pandemic, is it the cause or the catalyst to worsening China-US ties? Welcome to The Point, an opinion show coming to you from Beijing. I'm Liu Xin. A death knell for Hong Kong. That's how U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo described China's new national security legislation for Hong Kong, announcing on Wednesday that the U.S. State Department no longer viewed the SAR as having autonomy under Chinese rule. The change in tone could signal the end of some or all of the U.S. government's special trade and economic relations with the city, putting millions of dollars of trade at question. As part of our Voices on Hong Kong series, I was joined by Maria Tang Wai-Chu, Deputy Director of the Basic Law Committee under China's National People's Congress Standing Committee. She called for this legislation to be enacted as soon as possible. Maria, thank you very much for joining us. I understand the decision is expected to be voted on and approved by the current session of the National People's Congress. Do we know exactly the detailed content of this decision, and what do you think is the significance of this move?
Well, the detailed content of the decision, we already seen some draft and reporting on it. It is basically the NPC authorizing the Standing Committee to enact a law for protection of national security on 4 aspects. 1, taxation. 2, preventing intervention politically of foreign forces or influences in Hong Kong. 3, enacting laws against terrorism. And 4, having an organization in Hong Kong that would enable us to have the national security implemented with the help of central government, if necessary.
What is the significance of this decision, of the approval of this decision? What would it mean for Hong Kong?
Basically, what happens now is Hong Kong has no law which safeguards the national security. It has some remnants of the old colonial law, but the legal system is not intact. Ever since last June in Hong Kong, a matter of law and order over the Fugitive Offenders Act has now changed into what we call a color revolution, in which case we can see foreign interference, and we can see it's being provided through a chain of weapons, equipments, and other supporting facilities, and well-organized campaigns or even actions that involve violence in Hong Kong being organized on the internet. We see waving of the UK flag and waving of the US flag, and whereas the Chinese flag and the Chinese emblem are being destroyed and defaced. And people are coming out, young people are coming out asking for independence and self-determination. Some legislators have gone and caught White House and Whitehall for foreign interference. And the paymaster of all this in Hong Kong, who is a press tycoon, has publicly asked for help from the CIA so that their destruction can carry on. So it's very clear that we are facing imminent danger of terrorism and also national security. And that is why the NPC sees fit at this plenary session to authorize the Standing Committee to enact those laws.
Well, Hong Kong actually has had the opportunity or the mandate to enact a national security law on its own under Article 23 of the Basic Law, and yet over 2 decades since its return to China, it has not done that. But all of the things that you just mentioned, you know, the interference, the advocacy for independence, would that have been taken care of if there would have been a Article 23 enacted in Hong Kong? And why has the central government and the Hong Kong SAR government decided that it is not, they cannot wait any longer for a national security law to be enacted in Hong Kong?
Well, all the terrorism, the crimes, the interference, the political uncertainty, the destruction and damage it's doing to our Hong Kong economy, and also social harmony, could have been safeguarded if we had the Article 23 laws to protect national security in Hong Kong from day one, that is, on the day of reversion. But for political reasons, many legislators are not ready or willing to fully support the law, just in case it becomes an election issue. And all the time, Hong Kong has been working very well as a vibrant international city. Our democracy and freedom is much more and much better than in the colonial days. We're able to elect our own chief executive, and we are the first, freest economy in the world. Our judicial independence is number 3 in Asia, and our police rank number 12 in the world, much higher than the US police. And Hong Kong is a place where we open the door to everybody, whatever color or creed, as long as you keep to the law. So perhaps because we have such peaceful times, the government did not pay enough attention to the destruction that could be caused through the internet, what we call the fifth power. You saw it in Brexit. You saw it in Trump's election to the US presidency. And we have not ourselves safeguard the national security in Hong Kong with the appropriate law, being caught off guard.
So do you think, how do you think this new law can be implemented to protect national security for China and for Hong Kong without interfering on the legitimate rights and freedoms of the Hong Kong people, such as freedom of expression? You were talking about the internet. That is where a lot of people voice their opinions. But to what, how can you differentiate acts or speeches that are legitimate and legal, falling into the category of free expression, and those that fall into category as threats, potential threats to national security? Is there a possibility that the line could be easily blurred? Therefore, the national security could become a pretext for cracking down on political opinions or, you know, political oppositions in Hong Kong?
Well, first of all, the ultimate right and responsibility to enact the laws which protects national security is vested in the central government and the parliament, regardless of whether you are a unitary state or a federal state. So Article 23 did not cede the power to, or given the power to Hong Kong without reservation. It is still in the power of the central government. In spite of that, I am fully confident that if and when this draft law comes out, it will observe the basic human rights requirements under international convention. And this is something I trust the Hong Kong government will also keep a very keen eye on.
How do you look at the comments from the U.S. Secretary of State, for instance, Mr. Pompeo, who just said that he cannot certify anymore that Hong Kong is an autonomy of China, given facts on the ground, and that the United States stands with the people of Hong Kong? How do you look at his comments?
It's not unknown that Mr. Pompeo has a biased view about China and about whatever China will do. Right now, there's an election that's going to take place November in US, and we are seeing what they are doing in respect of COVID-19. So I can tell you, Mr. Pompeo says, if there should be such a law enacted in Hong Kong, it would be against America's interests, as if Hong Kong is in his pocket. Hong Kong must look after its own interests, and so does China. We are not offending anybody. We are not attacking anybody. We are not infringing on the sovereignty of the United States. We are just protecting ourselves.
Meanwhile, however, there are indeed a very wide gap between different opinions in Hong Kong, and people simply cannot ignore that, as you can see from the flaring up again of unrest and demonstrations. So, Maria, what do you think really needs to be done in order for people to come and work together again? Do you think it is still possible at this moment?
Well, there's certainly a lot of persuasion we have to do, and explanation and assurance. One country, two systems carries on, and I don't know whether people remember what Deng Xiaoping says. He says at times there may be trouble caused by Hong Kong people, but one country system goes on. And I believe as long as we keep to the basic law and not endanger our national security, the capitalistic system in Hong Kong will go way beyond 2047.
Finally, Macau, which is another special administrative region of China, Macau passed a security provision, let's say, according to its basic law in 2009. So what's fueling the resistance in Hong Kong, and has the issue been presented poorly or widely misunderstood, perhaps due to declining public trust in the Hong Kong administration?
Well, as far as trust situation is concerned, just look at how we deal with COVID-19. We make sure anybody who is a Hong Kong permanent resident, whether he's in China or in India or elsewhere, we charter planes and take them all back and give them treatment. We have only about 1,200 cases, of which there were only 4 deaths. Of course, 1 is already too many. So I can assure everybody the Hong Kong government takes care of its people, and we treasure freedom and human rights. And we were able to do so until this, what we believe to be color revolution, arose.
Thank you so much, Maria Tang Wai-Chu, joining us from Beijing.